Welcome to Season 1, Episode 2 of Supercoach Swordplay on our new podcasting platform. I'm joined by, once again, Supercoach with DR. How are you today, mate? What's going on?
Really good, Spills. Yeah, look, when I say really good, mate, been crook as a dog over the weekend, mate. A little bit better now, but actually doing remote learning, being a teacher. So not that the kids know, but giving you a little bit of feedback on the phone while sitting on the Thunderbox, mate. So that's been fun over the last day and a half. But apart from that, mate, going well. Team's looking okay. We'll get into the weekly review in a moment. How about yourself, mate? Had a good week and all going well?
Yeah, not too bad. I did make a very familiar yet catastrophic mistake in my side, which I wish I could have that opportunity again. I'll talk about that later on in the podcast through one of our segments. But as usual, we'll start off with our first segment, and that is obviously the weekly review. So first of all, DR, how'd you go this week? What was your score? What are your updates and trades? What's going on there, mate?
It was sort of high 1900, mid to high 1900s, mate. I can't remember exactly from memory. I probably should have looked that up before we started, but I lost exactly 100 spots in the overall ranking. So I was at 456, now out to 556. So outside the top 500. But look, as I said in my round review, mate, there's many fluctuations in rankings during the buys. So I'm not getting overly worried at this stage. And I think that we both made a bit of a sneaky move during last week, had the 3 trades and ended up bringing in a bit of a surprise, I think, for lots of people, but Josh Kelly. So the reasoning behind that, obviously, was that I wanted to prepare for the next couple of buys. It's going to be carnage in round 13 and round 14. So I was looking for a player in round 12 because I'd already had basically 8 players on the field in my midfield. So I had Anthony Scott sitting there who I didn't need anyway. So I thought, need to trade him up. Had about 565k. So would have loved to go up to a Took as a real pod. But at the end of the day, I think Kelly was the man. If you look at his upcoming fixture, it's really, really friendly. He's got North, Carlton, Hawthorn, and traditionally he scored really well against all those sides. And look, it's always going to be a risky pick. If you think about durability, it's okay because we only need him to play for 10 more rounds. And it's always a little bit worrying with that job role. But hopefully Leon has got his head screwed on now and just keeps him in the midfield. So that was my big move for this week, mate. Cost me a little bit of points this week on field. I could have gone a premium on field in the defensive line, for example, or the back line. But I decided that I'd try to play it a little bit smart, keep a little bit ahead of the pack during the buys and bring Mr. Josh Kelly in.
Yeah, beautiful. No, I scored 1,966 and actually managed to go up in the ranks, only 150 spots, which is not too bad considering what actually happened. And no one knows this because I haven't done a round review. Probably going to skip on the round review this week. I haven't really been feeling up to it. All I've been caring about is this podcast. Not that that's much of an excuse, but I went through with that Josh Kelly trade as well. We were on the phone on Friday night, and all you had to do was discuss for about 2 minutes on why that trade was good, and you sold me a new one, and I ended up doing that with you. So, yeah, just because of my round 13 buy, obviously I got McRae, Bonapali, Steele, and Lyons with that same, not Steele, sorry. Who's the other guy? I got Lyons and Zerrett, sorry.
Zerrett.
Those 4 uber premium midfielders with that same buy. So I thought, I need to get someone in to help cover for that. And, Josh Kelly on the bench. He's my last midfield upgrade. And he's going to, take a lot of heat off round 13 for me, which is hopefully a good trade, mate. Has a weak as piss fixture coming up, so it should be good. Maybe even a juicy captaincy option. We'll wait and see. And I end up trading, who was it? I can't remember who I traded, but I got in, Kelly and Bianco for it. I think, I can't off the top of my head. I think it was Scott, I'm pretty sure. But, I think everyone's trades are going to be very similar this week anyway. But, the big one was Josh Kelly and ended up going through with that one. So, hopefully he's going to be a good pickup. And I'm, really keen on that one. I think you raised...
I haven't sold your lemon there, mate. We'll see.
Nah,
we'll see what happens.
So. It's the risk you take. Look, I'm willing to jump on it. It's at my own risk. I don't have to pick him. And, just taking your advice. And, it's probably a smart move. I know Matty Rowe's on the bubble this week. There's another guy I want to speak about at some point. He's playing and he'll have a high break. I think it's about 180. So another guy to keep an eye out on which is really good. But we'll go into our headline of this week. What is yours, DR? Because I'm very intrigued to hear what you have to say this week. It's going to be quite entertaining. But what do you got for me this week, mate?
Well, I reckon it might be the shortest headline that we've got for the year. It's actually 4 letters. It's an acronym, NDHP. And if anyone's been following my channel for the last year and a bit, you know exactly what the NDHP is. And it's cost me this week, mate. It's cost me.
What is NDHP for viewers who may not know what that means?
For anyone that doesn't know what the NDHP means, it is the no dickhead policy. You know, we do not trade dickheads into our side. You know, those blokes that are going to do stupid things, get themselves suspended. You know, I'm not going to get into it now. I might leave that for another segment, mate. Yeah,
well, you covered the fact that you had the shortest headline, and I think I've got you covered this week. My headline for this week, shorter than that, mate. In fact, it's not even, doesn't even have letters in it. No letters at all, just numbers. And my headline for this week is 11, referring to Essendon's 11 consecutive losses in a row against Richmond. Mate, we just can't beat these guys, and it is so frustrating. We nearly had them. We jumped up in the lead. Oh, it was unbelievable to watch, and then I don't know what happened, but they just ended up smashing us by 6 goals or something like that. They ran away with it. They were way too good. So, yeah, as an Essendon supporter, I just had to do it. I just had to say something because 11 consecutive losses in a row against one particular team, you may as well be Fremantle on the Western Derby, mate, because it's just completely unacceptable. We can't get the job done against this mob. I don't know why, but that was definitely raising the eyebrows for me, mate.
Yeah, well, mate, I know being a Brisbane supporter up until, was it last year when we beat them in the final, we hadn't beaten them for 16 years, I think. So I'm with you there, mate, as a Lions supporter, mate. Yeah, frustrating, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. And yeah, it can be quite frustrating, I guess, when your team can't get the job done. But perhaps what is more frustrating is some of those sketchy trading targets you pick, especially when you've backed your gut and they're a player that you have such a good read on. And this is going to refer straight to the famous DR's rant. And I'm so excited to hear what you've got to say here because you've been bottling up to me all week. I've got no idea. You're quiet in your round review. You haven't been giving us much. You've been saving it all for this moment. What have you got for me this week, mate? I'm just going to sit back, relax, and enjoy this one, mate.
Mate, DR's rant for this week. I'll give you one guess. I'll give you one guess about the player that I want to rant about this week. You know, this bloke is meant to be a captain, a leader, a role model for his teammates. This bloke is meant to step up in big situations. Okay, let me tell you, mate. I'm talking about Dane Zorko, obviously here, mate, and this isn't just coming from a Supercoach point of view. It's coming from a Brisbane Lions supporters point of view. Talk about the NDHP. Now, what sort of an idiot, you know, a captain of a football club would do something like that, right? It was weak. It made himself look stupid. It was more embarrassing for him than anyone else. And I'll tell you what, mate, you look at some of the captains around the competition. Look at some of the captains we've had at Brisbane. You know, you look at the great Jonathan Brown. You know, we all know that famous mark going back against a flight, you know, into a pack of players against Hawthorn. You know, that's the sort of captain that I'm talking about. The great Michael Voss. Right, we've all seen that big hit on Alan Richardson. That's tough, mate. You know, we've seen in the grand final, Scotty Burns with his pointed elbow, right at the jaw of Michael Voss. He bounces back up this man, gets the handball off to Blackie, straight through for a goal. One of the biggest moments, if not probably the biggest moment in that grand final. You know, these are sort of blokes that should be captaining football clubs, not dickheads. What was he trying to do? He's like a little mosquito, you know. There was no damage there, you know. And look, to be honest, I think, well, is he unlucky for missing a week? He probably should miss a week just as stupidity more than anything. It wasn't a damaging act. He wasn't hurting anyone. But how stupid is it, mate? So this guy that we've got, who's been on fire. And don't get me wrong, he's been on fire. He's given me some terrific scores over the last 3 or 4 weeks. Has not gone for me under 117. That's been the lowest score that he's given me. Yeah, clearly the top forward at the moment, got that DPP status. So look, he's a really good pick, right? But all of a sudden, this clown is now not only around 13 player, but he's around 14 by player as well. So he's now missing the next 2 weeks, now the most crucial weeks of the bloody season that we've got. So I'll tell you what, mate, I'm getting him out. I'm trading him out this week. I'm not having him in my side anymore. And look, people say I'm crazy because he's still got a fairly low break even. I think it's in around the 70s. So I was going to smash that out. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to make 100K and get in a defensive player this week from the Giants, Lockie Whitfield. I'm going to save himself 100K, get him out of the side, and then bring in another forward that's also got DPP. I might talk about him a little bit later, who hopefully won't be a dickhead and get himself suspended. So, mate, I'm going to leave it there. Okay, because I don't want to go on any longer. I think you know how I feel. But what a muppet. What a muppet. I just can't believe what he's done to my side during the buys. Absolutely off him, mate. Off him.
Yeah, there was no need for it. Like, I just thought it was a bit unnecessary myself from watching it. And, yeah, it was one of those ones where it's like, is it worth a suspension? Well, him being the captain of a football club, probably so. And, yeah, from a Supercoach side of things, you would have done a lot of research on this pick, being a Brisbane supporter, and you would have had in the back of your mind that he has that round 13 bye. But now he's got 2 buys because, as a result, he's not playing round 14 because of suspension. So that's going to be a really stiff part in terms of when you trade him in. I guess the positive from it, though, is you've banked a lot of coin. Is he in the 600K marks at the moment? Is he? What's his price at the moment?
Well, he's just over 600K. Yep. So, I've made good money off him. But, I don't expect to trade him, but,
Yeah, and one that you're probably going to flip over the buys anyway, just because of Neil coming back. How does that affect his scoring? We don't know. But him getting suspended, that's just that's the line in the sand, mate. You got to get rid of him. And look, it might not have been a bad call anyway, because now you've got full confirmation that it's time to get rid of this bloke, and there's no such thing as being indecisive. So in hindsight, maybe it's a good thing, because now you can target someone in that midfield like a Jack Steele or a Jay Lyons, someone that you've had your eyes on for quite a while. And like Dunkley earlier in the year, you can use that money in the forward line in a much more better spot in the midfield, which would be ideal. So maybe not as bad in hindsight, but still super frustrating for you, mate. I do feel.
And look, for anyone that's questioning trading him, I suppose another big thing just quickly is the fact that I don't want to have a bloke that's 600K sitting on my bench during the next 2 weeks where I need him the most out of any time of the year, and that's why he's let me down as well, mate. He's left me right when I need him, so enough with Zorko though, mate. Never again. I was off him at the start of the year as well, more because of injury and role, but now, bloody hell, mate. Move on.
Yeah, that's the negative stuff out of the way. But now we'll go on to the positive stuff, and it is time for Supercoaches Who. This is my favourite segment, one of my favourite segments of this podcast. I absolutely love it. I don't know if you guys have seen List Cloggers with Dylan Buckley and Daniel Gorringe, but they have a People Who. This is a parody of that, and it's called Supercoaches Who. I'll flick it over to you right now, DR. Give me your first one for this week. Looking forward to this.
Look, my first one, mate, is Supercoaches who have a lot of players with DPP status. Yeah, they're laughing at the moment because during the bye rounds, DPP is so important. It's not only being able to flip players from different positions in order to, cover some of those donuts you're going to have on particular lines. It's also when you're trading out as well. So Bianco is a perfect one, for example. So I've got him in the back line at the moment this week, but he's going to be very, very easy just to flip into the midfield. For example, if you want to get rid of a midfield rookie, and you could even get rid of a forward rookie, get someone from your midfield into the forward line, and then get Bianco into your midfield. So you can go from a forward to a back to a mid. It just gives you so much flexibility. So yeah, DPP during the buys is king.
Yep. My first one is Supercoaches who check the stats after every single quarter of every single game and every single player that they look at in their side. I am a candidate for this one. I check Dr. Supercoach's stats on Facebook or the Supercoach Elite stats on Facebook after every quarter. And I've been doing this for probably 2 or 3 years in a row. So I'm guilty of that. Do you do that, mate? Are you one of those blokes?
Hand
Yep,
up,
you're guilty
mate.
of that?
Hand up there for sure.
Yeah.
It's fun. We spend so much time on it, don't we, mate? Anyway,
Yes,
you know, on the mate.
ludicrous.
My next one, mate, is Supercoaches who are doubting Darcy Parish as an Uber premium. Don't doubt this man anymore. You know, you look at his 3 and 5 round averages; they are like out of this world, mate. A 5 rounder of 140 and a 3 rounder of over 150. So the only man that's eclipsing him at the moment for that 5 rounder is the great Bont, Marcus Bontempelli. So, you know, if you're second to Bont, then I think you'll deal with that, won't you? You know, being second to the great man. So, yeah, he's just got that role now. I think that's what he's been looking for, mate, is the opportunity. He's got the role now. We know there's a heap of injuries at Essendon with, you know, your Shields, even your Caldwells, even McGrath's out now. So, yeah, this man's got the opportunity. And ever since Anzac Day, he's been inspired, I think, by those great men. He just hasn't looked back, mate. So do not doubt Darcy Parish. He's the real deal, I think, bud.
Yeah, I think he's 7th in the comp overall for total points. So a really, really surprising player for this year. He's priced at 660K with a 90 break even as well. So quite staggering. My second one is Supercoaches who forget to set their captaincy, e.g. myself with Clayton Oliver a couple of weeks ago. Now, because I haven't done a review this week, no one knows that I did this again 2 weeks in a row. Will you ever learn from your mistakes? Sometimes you may, sometimes you don't. So my old man says it's okay to make mistakes, just don't make them twice. And I did that again. So what I did was I reversed my trades, did everything as planned, and I realised, oh shit, I've got to do my captaincy. And I was watching on KO. I don't know if anyone knows this, but KO is usually about a couple minutes delayed to the actual live game. And I realised straight before the game, I was like, oh, I'm watching the boys front out. Gee, I've got to bloody do this captaincy. And it locked out again. So I was stuck with the VC on Jade Lyons and the captaincy on Clayton Oliver, who only scored 94. A real burner on this occasion. Usually is a safe one to have. If you can go straight up captain anyone, him against Brisbane, who don't concede many points, would have been ideal. But I've done it again, mate, and that's what's costed me a lot of points because you yourself know that I was eventually going to go VC Oliver for Bontempelli, and he ended up just shy of 150. So, yeah, really, really harsh one on that occasion, mate. And yeah, I just thought I'd let the viewers know exactly what I did there. And yeah, the Supercoaches who do that is absolutely no one but Spills. So yeah, that's my second one, mate.
Well, mate, they say these things come in threes. So make sure this week, mate, before the lockout, right? Now, do this half an hour beforehand. Look at your phone and I don't reckon take your eyes off your phone, mate. Don't accidentally press something or, you know, I'm worried, mate. But
you just look, these things happen. I'm always distracted. We're on the phone, usually always call each other before lockout, and I get distracted because I'm always, for example, I was so distracted with Josh Kelly and how I was going to do all my emergencies and my rookies that I just completely overlooked the captaincy. And, gee, that's a stinger, mate. Absolute stinger. Over to you. Next one.
I'll tell you what, this hasn't. You said a bit of a stinger, but this may have to do with a bit of a zinger, and you know what I mean in a minute. But my last one is Supercoaches who go missing. Now, there is a man on YouTube, Mitch, the great Big Old Crumb, a very, very entertaining Supercoach channel, Big Old Crumb. But, mate, this man has gone missing. Now, he's had a lot of trouble with the Colonel this year. You know, when you log into your Supercoach for the first time when the round opens, the Colonel will tell you whether or not you've been successful. He does not like the Colonel because the Colonel hasn't been giving him overly good news at the moment. And he's gone missing. He hasn't done a round review, I reckon, in the last month. So I'm a little bit worried for the Colonel at the moment, mate. So If KFCs around the country start to close down, I think we know that Crumb may have got his man. We don't normally see Supercoaches go missing probably until the last maybe 5 weeks. They start dropping off once you know that maybe I've run out of trades and maybe those people that aren't right into it like us. But, the old Supercoaches like us have been playing for years. We tend to stick on right to the end. But, there's been a couple that have gone missing a little bit early this year, mate.
Yeah, mate. Crumb's had it in for the Colonel for quite some time now, and he's probably going to kill him as we speak. So hence why he's taking a bit of a break from Supercoach. He's going, fuck you, I'm going to go kill you, and that's what's going on there. So understandable, but I do miss your content. I hope that you make a return very soon. My last one is Supercoaches who went early on CCJ. I get confused between CCJ and CJ. We've got Callum Coleman Jones, and then I don't know his first name, but Jath. So that's a real tongue twister. But Supercoaches who went earlier on CCJ and Bianco, you beauty, absolutely fire, like scoring left, right, and centre, really, really good. And look, there's not much going on with the buyers. These guys are great coverage, and I did it, but because I had no choice, I just had to do it. I wasn't in a position to wait on them. Bit of a flukish call, but really happy I did that, mate.
Sometimes rules are meant to be broken, mate. We don't normally jump on rookies that have only played the one game, but I think this was a week to do it, mate, any week. So, nice work, mate. Nice work.
Yeah. Have you got one more, or is that it for that one?
That's it, mate. We are done. All done.
All right. It is time for Locking Horns. I am very excited for this one. A segment in which myself and DR will formally disagree on a certain situation. It's not very often that we disagree with something, so we have to think very thoroughly on how we do it. Now, this week, we are locking horns with one Kyle Langford. You rate Kyle Langford as a selection, obviously Essendon football player, going to be getting a whole lot of mid-time as McGrath's going to be out for his PCL, so it could be anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks. So you're really hot on this Langford pick. Me as an Essendon supporter, surprisingly, are against it. But can you talk me through the Kyle Langford pick, mate? And what do you see in this selection?
It's funny because I reckon 3 weeks ago, there's no way I would have been talking about or thinking about this man. He was just sort of out of sight, out of mind. One of those players at the start of the year think, might be a little bit of a pod. I think we even talked about him very quickly in our podcast that we did earlier in the year, mate. But what I've seen in the last 3 weeks is a change of role. I've seen him come off the wing and into the midfield, playing more of that inside role. And his 3-round average is 117. He's about 475k, give or take a few dollars. I think he's got that mid-forward status, so he's got that DPP, which is really, really handy. And the blokes like Dale and Bolton and these types, they're over that 500k mark now. So they're getting harder and harder to bring into your side. And I think that if he continues with this role, then he could follow that path, the Dale and the Bolton type path. So he's someone that I want to jump on before he gets out of reach. And I'm not saying that 520k, whatever Dale and Bolton are, is out of reach. We're all in different situations. But I think most of us in the forward line are looking for a bit more value so we can spend up a little bit more in the midfield to get some of these big dogs. So for me, that's what's attracting me to the Langford pick. It's the price, the DPP status, and that role. But look, as an Essendon man, mate, you might be able to talk me out of it, mate. Why is he not a good pick?
He went on a run last year, I think it was last year, 2020. He started to get a little bit of junk time in the midfield. He can play the role, does a good job. He's competent in the midfield. Just don't think his tank is that big enough to run out full games. I think he'll get 5 minutes, 10 minutes in there each quarter, which is really good. He's gonna be scoring really well. His scoring will lift, and considering he's a forward pick, you could definitely go for him. My phone's probably going off its head. You could definitely go for him at his price and under the circumstances. But I'm in a different boat to you because you've got a lot of forward players already locked in your team. Myself, I don't have Aaron Hall or Bolton or any of these obvious guys in the forward line. I've actually done no upgrades in the forward line. I've completed defence and midfield, obviously completed rucks, now had to really concentrate on the forward line. So I've got to get in these Aaron Halls, and I can't really think of anyone else, mate. Dangerfield, Hind, like these guys who have been on the radar for so long now. Maybe even, dare I say it, Zorko when he comes back. But whether or not... So, yeah, I don't mind the Langford selection, mate. I think he's a really great pickup, and I can't really disagree with you too much on this occasion, but under my circumstances, I won't go anywhere near him. But I can see why you would do it, mate. Yeah, understandable, I reckon.
Yeah, I didn't think about the tank. That's one thing I haven't thought about. But look, not locked in, mate. See how we go.
Yep. All right. Are you ready for the Supercoach sacrifice, DR? Because blokes who watched last week, they tuned in last week, this is a new segment. And this is not going to be a regular segment. This is a segment for a rainy day. And I don't know if anyone lives in Central Victoria, but it was bucketing down all day today. And a few things went a bit wrong last week. And I just raised the question, what is the sacrifice? Well, it is where we will give up an item or an object. You guys know this from watching DR's channel. He has made a couple of Supercoach sacrifice videos. They're so good. They're so popular that we've made it a segment on this podcast. Whether or not we do it every week, I don't know. But this week we are. And my Supercoach sacrifice for this week is James Madden. And I have the Irish pub theme and a can of Guinness. Now, DR, I went to Dan Murphy's on the weekend to get my weekly slab of VB after finishing work, just what you do, a bit of a routine type situation going on. I thought, look, I've got to make a sacrifice to Jimmy Madden. So I'm going to go buy a can of Guinness. He is Irish. It's logical. That's what I've decided to do, mate. And what happened that night, ironically, your mate, Ryan Lester, has done his hamstring. I'm pretty sure it's his hamstring. He's out for what would be another few weeks. Who went out for Ryan Lester? Jimmy Madden. So I bought before Lester got injured. So this is for the Supercoach gods out there. I have football training tonight, so I might not drink this at the moment. I might actually put it away because I'm very tempted just by looking at the can. I'll hide it on the desk because it's very appealing. But that is my Supercoach sacrifice, and it's a big one to Jimmy Madden. And, mate, I hope he plays because I need these rookies, especially on field. And in the forward line, he's good with that bye. So, yeah, that's my Supercoach sacrifice, mate. What about yourself?
Absolutely love it, mate. Well, I tell you what, mate, my Supercoach sacrifice this week is for a man that, I tell you what, I need playing. He's been one of my worst rookie trade-ins of the year. And it's R2D2. It's R2D2. R2 Bossafalabalagi. I can't say the name, mate. Say it again for us, mate.
DR's guy is one R2 Bosan Valagi.
I don't know. You've done well, mate, haven't you? You must have practiced that, mate.
Stage
I think the background's getting in the way of this, but you can see here, mate, I have an R2D2 popcorn machine because I need this bloke to start popping spills. I need something from him. You know, I was expecting him to be covered during these buys. And so, Supercoach gods, please, 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 if you could bring me R2 this week in spills, I know you've got him as well, and I have Madden. So I suppose both these sacrifices are from the both of us this week to the Supercoach gods. Please, 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 give us R2. Give us R2. So that's my sacrifice for the week, mate. R2, I need him on field, bud.
Yep, R2 has been a massive pain in my ass, I reckon, and one that I am strongly regretting starting, to be honest. Not starting, but jumping on. He was very expensive, and that's why I got cold feet on those Cody Waitman type players and nearly didn't select Coleman Jones because of that situation. We pay overs for rookies and they don't play. It is quite frustrating. So fingers crossed he gets a run this week. But if he doesn't, definitely on the chopping block next week, I think. All right, now it's time for my rookie radar. Now, obviously being the founder of the rookie reviews, which have been pretty flat because it's been the same guys on the radar for the last couple of weeks. This week I have the exact same guys, Bianco, Reeves and CCJ. They are the main ones. But I have a new guy who was picked, I reckon, what did Hawthorn have, picked 2 or 3? I can't remember. But in the mid-season draft, we have Jai Newcombe. He is an inside contested midfielder. Looks the goods, mate. I think he can make a debut quite early and one to really keep an eye on. Obviously, mid-season draft, cheap as chips, 102K. I think his job security would be very good playing at Hawthorn. They have eyed him off for a while, so there's not a whole lot to talk about because I think every man his dog is getting Flynn out and flipping Coleman, jumping on Reeves, and then using that coin for Whitfield. I'm pretty sure 90% of the competition are going to be doing that this week. So not the most relevant term of events with rookies. It's going to be better when we got 2 or 3 who are really like you could just flip a coin. And like there's always that week. I remember last year we had Irving Mosquito and who was the other guy from GWS, the forward player, their full forward, Riccardi. Riccardi and Mosquito. And they come out at the exact same time, both scored really well, and you just couldn't pick them. So when blokes like that come out on the bubble, that's when it's going to be really entertaining. But this week it's quite hard to discuss because, well, yeah, what do you do? And I should also mention that mid-season draft, as appealing as it is, most of those ruckmen are just ruckman rejects that we've already jumped on our R3 with Reeves. We've got our cheap guy, Flynn, and all that. So there's not really a whole lot to discuss unless you've got anything for me that you picked up from the mid-season draft or any rookies that you might have an idea on, mate, because I'm not 100% sure at this point in time, mate.
Oh, look, to be honest, Matt, I think that the big 3 everyone's already been talking about last week, which is Coleman, Jones, Bianco, and Reeves. So you've got to have those blokes. I think you've got to have probably all 3 at this stage because I don't know if there's too many bright options in the future. You might have Max Holmes from Geelong may play another game, but I don't think he'll stay in the side for very long. Job security is dicey as
Mitch Duncan kicks him out.
Yeah, so I wouldn't go there. And yeah, agree with the mid-season draft. Maybe a couple of players. Newcomb's obviously the big one. But I know that the bloke that we selected, that Brisbane selected, was a ruckman that I think's been playing Waffles reserves. So, a bit bizarre, but it's obviously a longer-term view with him, I think. So, yeah, not ready-made. And I don't think any of the ruckmen are, or too many of them are anyway. And as you said, we've got Reeves. So, no, I don't think there'll be too many other options apart from the 3 blokes you mentioned and Newcombe. I don't think, mate. That's pretty much a wrap, I think, with that one.
Yeah, I know Matthew Parker for Richmond now, a.k.a.
that's right.
the Dustin Martin off Wish that he's been called. But I love that call. Yeah, he's been on the radar for a little bit. One of my favourite rookies of 2019, really good for our sides in the forward line where it was just as thin as you could ever imagine. So hopefully he gets some games. Ben at Richmond, not sure. But if he is at Richmond, he's going to get first use in that forward line. So hopefully, fingers crossed there. I think he's 102K as well. Pretty sure they all are being the mid-season draft. And
good call out. Yep.
Another guy from St Kilda who looks to be making his debut quite soon as well. Can't remember his name, though. Don't know if it'll come to me or not. But blokes will know what I'm talking about anyway. We're seeing it on AFL websites.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. But, yeah, I think that's about it for the rookie radar, mate. Next segment, we have our trade target for the week, our weekly trade target. My trade target for this week is, it's an interesting one. It's Matt Rowell. But this is tough because I've already completed my midfield. So to get Rowell in, what I would have to do is trade out Stephen May, flip Laird, and then pick Rowell like that. And I think that is probably a really good call over that round 14 bye, one I'm really thinking of rolling with. But Matty Rowell is a break-even of 180 plus. I think he's already, 495K. So going to drop a fair bit. And if he's back to his best, plays the Dockers this week, mate, we could be up for anything. So it is confirmed he is playing this week. He's making his return.
Is it really?
He's making his return this week from his long-term PCL injury that he did against West Coast over there in Perth in round 1. So this is going to be really interesting, mate. And to see Matt Rowell back is just going to be fantastic. One of the most stiffest players in the comp. So he is my trade target for the future. I won't get him in this week nor next week, but maybe round 14, I don't know. he's still going to have he's still got money to lose then as well. I understand that. But with Stephen May, might be a cheeky move. I'm not sure, mate. But what about yourself? What's your trade target that you got in mind for this week?
Well, I think it's pretty boring this week. I think a lot of people are probably going to have the same idea, and it's Lachie Whitfield for me this week, mate. I just think that it makes a lot of sense. If you look at most people's defences, they've got at least, I reckon, 3 of. You look at the Seagull, Mills, Laird, Short has got that by now, Stephen May. Even if you've got a Crisp or one of these blokes from Collingwood, a Moore type, there are so many of these blokes in our defensive line, and even the rookies, Highmore, if he plays or not, St Kilda, they're out. Bianco, if you've got him back there, Murphy, if you've got him back there, it's going to be absolute carnage in the round 14 bye in our defensive lines particularly. So he's my number 1 trade-in target this week, I think, mate. And look, for other people as well, they may even have Whitfield, or they may not have Whitfield or Tom Stewart. So I think he's another really good option in our defensive line this week. And I'm going to do something a little bit different in the stock market video this week. I'll do the usual stuff that I do, but I'm also going to have a couple of slides on a player comparison between Lachie Whitfield and Tom Stewart. So I'm going to go through their history, their numbers, their durability, their ceiling, their lower scores, higher scores. It's going to be a fair discussion about these two, because there'll be a lot of coaches that want to make the choice between the two, because they're both coming off their bye. They're both, really safe premiums. They're both averaged well in the last few years. So, and I think there's only about 16K difference between the two. So I recommend, if you can get both into your side, if you're in that position, you need a couple of defensive spots. I think that could be a really, really good move this week, is to show up your back line with a couple of round 12 defenders if you can. But yeah, for me, mate, it's definitely Whitfield. And into the future, there's one more forward that I need. Do you wait for danger? The pretty obvious ones, I've already mentioned a couple, your Boltons, your Dales, definitely Langford, I think, next week. Yep. Tuke Miller is a really, really nice pod, I think, in the midfield. If I had the cash, I may have even gone him over Kelly last week. So they're probably the men for me. And look, the other ones just speak for themselves, mate. The Lions and the Bonts and the Steels and these types, there's no real discussion needed with it, mate. They're just really obvious picks that, if you can get them, it suits your buy structure within the next 2 weeks, go and grab them, or else after the buys, just go and grab any player that you want, because obviously, the buys won't affect your decision. So, that's my thoughts anyway, mate. Probably a few of the blokes that I'll be looking at.
Yeah, definitely agree with you there. That Whitfield trade, that's what I'm going through with as well, and I think I speak for the whole competition in that aspect. And also the Shai Bolton selection, that is a very interesting upcoming trade. He's one that you can get in. What's he got? Round 14 by now. It's all changed and muddled up. So that makes it really, really difficult. So after round 14, going to be interesting. I think he had a break even of 130 and he nearly got there. Now it's pretty much on par. He's priced at 520K. So I do like Shai Bolton. Probably one of the first forward upgrades I go for if I have the money, I reckon, mate.
Yeah, it's one of those ones you'd love to get him this week, but
it's tough.
Round 14 so tough.
Yeah.
It's really, really tough. But I'll tell you what, mate, he's an absolute gun, isn't he? He's so good to watch as well. I reckon him and Cozzy Pickett, two of my favourite players in the comp to watch. They're just exciting, those blokes. You just know that when he goes near the ball, that something good or exciting is going to happen, mate. So, yeah, absolute highlight reel, mate. Yeah.
No, super talented blokes. But that is a wrap up for our episode 2 of Supercoach Swordplay. And yeah, really enjoyed this one. It was a very highly anticipated podcast. I couldn't wait for what you had to say with Dane Zorko. And I think you summed it up to a T. So yeah, I think we did well on this podcast, and hopefully we improved dramatically from last week's just Bachelor Dish Up podcast, if I could say that. Like, we literally just went, oh yeah, do you want to do a podcast tonight? And just did it. So hopefully this one has a little bit of improvement. Before we go, mate, what are your captains for this week?
Yeah, well, I've already had a little bit of a look at it, mate. And for me, bringing in Josh Kelly this week, I'm going to, I think, give him the vice captaincy on debut. I wouldn't put the captaincy on him. I think that's a pretty big risk, but the vice captaincy option in the form that he's been in, it's always fun rolling the dice on someone that you've brought in for the first time. And look, we talked about his upcoming fixture the next few weeks. I really like to possibly include him for those next 3 weeks in the captain's loop there. But if that all fails and, he gives me a 115 type score, then I'm going to go with Max against Max. So Maxi Gawn is coming up against Max Lynch from Collingwood this week. Usually this is a week when Melbourne play Collingwood that you don't look at the rucks for a captaincy at all. You think they'll probably both even each other out a little bit. But given the fact that Grundy's out, I think coming up against Lynch, and who else would it be? Darcy Cameron will probably be the other guy that chops out there. Yeah, you got to like Maxi, don't you, mate? So, look, it's tough. I don't know how safe to play it because I really do believe in Max this week against Collingwood. So, yeah, what happens if Kelly puts up a 125? It's like people remember the other week where Gawn went 120 and Grundy ended up getting the 70 odd. It can really burn you. So, mate, I'm just hoping that Kelly either goes just a 115 and makes it easy for me. I want him to go higher, or just smashes out of the park and go, right, easy, done, lock it in. But, yeah, that's what I'm thinking, mate. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm going to VC Steele against Adelaide, who, we saw what happened with Clayton Oliver. Contested fielders. Just see how he goes. I think, I'd take a 125 this week anyway. I'm usually pretty greedy, but this is one of the hardest weeks for captaincies I've ever seen, really. You still got Luke Jackson, who's going to be, they might play him a lot at ruck because he's up against Max Lynch. Maybe a trial run for him might get a bit more. So I do worry about that. I haven't captained Gawn in probably a month or so now because, that's always been on my mind. But if Steele doesn't go to plan, I'll probably eye off Josh Kelly or Max Gawn. Just wait and see how I'm feeling on the day. But I just hope that Steele, if he can go 130 plus, I'll take it. So, they're my captains for this week, mate.
Yeah, I love them. With the form Steele's been in, mate. If I had Steele on my side, I'd definitely look at getting him in. I reckon. In when I say in the old loophole, mate. So love it, mate. Love it. All for it.
Yeah, for sure. If I don't butcher the captaincy again this week, we should be right.
Mate, I'm gonna be thinking of you, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll make sure you remind me because I don't know what to say, to be honest. I might do a quick review on Thursday or something, like a 5-minute review, just to show people what actually happened because just shocking. Still ticks me off, mate. Cost me a lot of points. But anyway, we'll wrap it up there, mate. We're about 40 minutes through, so that's about par with where we want to be doing these podcasts. Don't want to keep you too long. Give you a little bit of an insight, bit of segments, bit of fun, bit of Supercoach, and I absolutely love it. So, thanks for watching, guys. And, as always, we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for coming on the podcast, DR. Amazing co-host, and really looking forward to getting this Supercoach podcast up and running.
Good on you, Spills. Always fun, mate. We chat enough Supercoach, geez. It is time to finish this podcast because I can't speak at the moment, mate. So on that note, mate, good to speak with you, and thanks for tuning in, guys. Catch you soon.
Till next time, mate. See you later.
Good on you, man.